Gaslighting is not always loud. It doesn't always come with shouting, violence, or insults. Often it arrives quietly, through confusion, subtle dismissal, and twisted truths. It creeps into relationships through repeated patterns, and before long, reality begins to shift. Not because it changed, but because someone else is distorting it for control. This video dives into 6 distinct forms of gaslighting that many people face without realizing. These patterns don't just confuse emotions. They systematically dismantle memory, trust, and identity. Each type will be explored with clarity and care, not only to reveal the tactics being used, but to offer understanding and a path toward emotional freedom. 1. The mirror twist, when your memories become foreign. It starts slowly. A conversation remembered differently, an event misrepresented. You might recall being hurt by a comment or action, but you're told that it didn't happen that way, or that it didn't happen at all. Over time, reality starts to slip. You question what you saw, what you felt, and what you know. This form of manipulation works by bending your memory until you stop trusting it altogether. It is not a disagreement about perspective. It is a denial of experience. The gaslighter relies on repetition and certainty, insisting that their version of events is the only truth. This erodes confidence, leaving you dependent on their narrative. When memories no longer belong to you, they become tools used against you. This psychological erosion leaves people unsure of what's real and often too exhausted to keep fighting for clarity. 2. The emotion eraser. When feelings are made to feel wrong, you speak up. You say something hurts. Instead of being heard, your emotions are diminished. You're told you're too sensitive, that you're blowing things out of proportion, that nothing serious happened. This is not constructive disagreement. This is a calculated tactic to suppress emotional response. When your pain is minimized, it becomes harder to express it the next time. Over time, you learn to internalize your suffering. You hesitate before speaking up. You begin to silence yourself before anyone else does. The emotion eraser works by invalidating your emotional truth. It tells you that your pain is an overreaction, not a reality, and in doing so, it cuts you off from your own inner compass, the very thing that helps you set boundaries and protect your well-being. 3. The isolation net, when trust is replaced by control. Sometimes the manipulation is not in what is said, but in what is slowly taken away. Friends become distant. Family seems unreachable. The person manipulating you may act like the only one who truly cares, the only one who understands, the only one you can rely on. The goal here is isolation, not physical, always, but emotional. If everyone else is portrayed as untrustworthy, selfish, or out to get you, then it becomes easier for you to rely only on them. They paint themselves as your savior, while subtly undermining your connections to anyone who might actually help you see clearly. This is how the isolation net works. By cutting off your access to alternative perspectives, to support systems, to reminders of your worth outside the manipulator's control. Once you're alone in the fog, it's much easier for someone else to shape your version of reality. 4. The guilt reversal, when you're always the villain. Even when you're the one harmed, you end up apologizing. Every conflict leaves you feeling like the bad one. The narrative shifts quickly. Suddenly the focus is not on what they did, but on how hurt they are by your reaction. This reversal creates a dynamic where standing up for yourself is portrayed as cruelty. You're made to feel selfish for having needs, unkind for expressing boundaries, toxic for asking for accountability. The guilt reversal ensures that every attempt at honesty ends with you on the defense. It's a way of escaping responsibility. By turning the tables and making the one who is hurt appear to be the one causing harm. Eventually, it leads to silence, not peace. You stop bringing up problems, not because they've gone away, but because you've been trained to believe that your pain is less important than their comfort. 5. The sanity shaker. When your mind is used against you. Mental health becomes a weapon, not in the form of concern, but of accusation. If you show emotion, you're called unstable. If you're confused, you're told you're losing it. If you push back, you're told it's because you're irrational. The sanity shaker attacks your identity at its core. It casts doubt, not just on your thoughts, but on your entire capacity to think clearly. You start wondering if the problem really is you, if maybe you are overthinking or broken or too emotional to be trusted. This kind of gaslighting doesn't need to be constant. It just needs to happen enough times that you begin to internalize the fear. What if they're right? When someone uses your mental health as a means of control, they are not helping you. They are trying to silence you. And once that doubt is planted, it grows quickly. Self-trust withers. And the harder it becomes to stand your ground, the easier it is for the gaslighter to claim it for themselves. 6. The emotional saboteur, when their pain hides the harm. This kind of gaslighting hides behind displays of vulnerability. Whenever you bring up a concern, they collapse into distress. They cry, withdraw, make threats, or act wounded beyond belief. It may look like they're the one hurting, but pay attention to the pattern. If every honest conversation becomes about their pain instead of yours, something deeper is happening. The emotional saboteur avoids accountability by shifting focus to their own emotions. They don't need to deny your experience. They just bury it beneath their suffering. And if you care for them, as most people do, it works. You stop pressing. You comfort them. You forget why you were upset in the first place. Empathy becomes a weapon in their hands. Your kindness is used against you. Over time, you learn not to speak up at all, not because the pain stopped, but because you're too afraid of hurting someone else by expressing your truth. Why it's hard to recognize gaslighting. Gaslighting doesn't always look like abuse. It often wears the mask of love, concern, or even protectiveness. It can happen in romantic relationships, families, friendships, workplaces. Anyone can be a victim, regardless of age, background, or strength. The hardest part is that it confuses the senses. When gaslighting takes root, it makes you question the very tools you'd normally use to get out. Your intuition, your memory, your emotions, your relationships. It isn't about intelligence or weakness. It's about someone else intentionally distorting your reality so that they can remain in control of it. Reclaiming your mind, breaking free from the fog. Recognizing gaslighting is an act of power. Naming it breaks the spell. It creates distance between you and the manipulation, between the person you are and the version they've tried to convince you to be. Healing begins when you start listening to your own voice again, when you trust your feelings without needing external validation, when you let your memories be your own, even if someone else insists they're false. Surround yourself with people who reflect your truth back to you, people who honor your perspective instead of rewriting it. The fog of gaslighting clears most quickly in the light of support. And sometimes, healing means professional help. Therapists trained in trauma and emotional abuse can help rebuild the trust that was lost, especially the trust you have in yourself. Final thoughts. You are not the problem. Gaslighting teaches you to shrink, to question, to obey. Escaping it teaches you to grow, to trust, to speak. No one deserves to live inside a narrative that isn't their own. If you recognize these patterns, know this: it was never your fault. You were manipulated, not broken, misled, not weak. There is a version of life outside the emotional distortion, one where your voice matters, your memories are valid, your feelings are honored, and your truth stands strong. It's not too late to reclaim it.